So I don't even know how to start.
Oh my gosh.
Hey now.
Hey freaking now. Do you know how long it's been since I've heard that?
Dude, it's been too late. It actually, it hasn't been all that long. Hold on, I got a board in front of me. I got to fix our levels, make sure we're not
blowing people's speakers out.
Okay, so
you.
That's like, people keep asking me, how are you feeling? Like, everyone's excited about this. And by the way, let's start with a huge thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I've got so many things to thank people for, but let's just start with the past week.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if people would care about this. I didn't know if this was just going to be shouting into a void,
right?
A tree falling in the forest, the sound of one hand clapping, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was reminded over the past week how much people wanted to hear this.
Yeah.
And I kind of needed that.
Absolutely.
So thank you to everyone who cares about this, who shared this, who liked it, who dropped us a comment. Now that's how this show survives.
Yeah.
And it's not about making bosses happy anymore.
Right.
It's about making the listener happy. The listener gets to be first again.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I love that. I know. If anyone knows how I feel and what I went through over, I'm going to say, the past 2 years.
Yeah.
It's this woman next to me.
Hello.
Welcome to the Rob's podcast with Maddie West.
Oh my gosh, we said it out loud.
Can we just for once? So this is something that Maddie and I have wanted to do almost since the day we met, which was, I guess, going on 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
We worked together for 2, and we quickly learned that we got along really well.
Very well.
And that for a number of different reasons, which we may get to on the show here in a little bit, our best show was happening when the mics were off.
Definitely. That was like the unfiltered, unedited version of our personalities. And I hate to say we had to dumb it down, but we did when we were on air. We had to dumb it down.
Dumb it down.
Follow the rules.
And we're not even talking about like cursing.
Right.
Which I don't even plan on doing a lot of on this show, even though we can.
Try my best.
Yeah. I mean, if it happens, it happens.
The F word's my favorite word.
I'm partial to the C word. You can pick.
I like them both.
I like the female C word, but the male one is good too.
Okay.
It's not even that. It's not even dirty. It's just like the way we had our hands tied was a situation we just couldn't win.
Yeah. We were very censored, and I understand that to an extent. You know what I mean? I get it. But like you said, the best versions of what we were doing is happening off the air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, if people could hear this.
Like when we used to have to record.
We're freaking hysterical.
When we had to record our promos that would run throughout the day.
Yes.
It was like, this is what it's supposed to be.
Right.
But it's not allowed to be.
Yeah.
And that was what made it like I have 30 different pieces of audio of you saying we need a podcast.
Right.
Guess what?
And now here we are.
Now we have one.
I cannot even believe this is happening. Like Rob said, this is something that we have been wanting to do since forever, and obviously we couldn't, because you can't. Whenever you're like an on-air personality for a company, you have like a non-compete, and like you can't do a podcast while you're under their like ownership, I guess.
You kind of couldn't even have a radio show. It was just like, you even found out you can't have certain friends. Let me start, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I want to thank our sponsor. Let me do one commercial for the show today, guys. Give me 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we're going to just jump into it. There's only one commercial. This episode of the Rob's podcast, The Maddie West, is brought to you by All About You DJ.
Whoop, whoop.
Let All About You DJ host your next wedding party.
I actually am.
That's right.
It's funny you said that. I actually am.
And I want to talk to you about your wedding because I know your wedding caught the coronavirus.
But yeah, my wedding got COVID.
So let All About You DJ host your next wedding party or event like Maddie's doing.
Yeah.
We specialize in wedding receptions as well as any private parties, including birthdays, engagement parties, school dances, anniversaries, or any other special event that you may need a DJ for. We work with you to ensure that your entertainment is perfect for your event. At All About You DJ, your event is not only important to you, but it's also important to us. We make we make it as memorable for everybody involved as we possibly can. All About You provides everything you need to make your wedding the event of your dreams, from dazzling photo booths to ensure your event is one your guests will never forget, to gorgeous uplighting to make your wedding photos pop. All About You offers several different packages to fit your needs. You could even ask for me, the Rob, to host your party, or if I'm not mistaken, sometime in the near future, maybe even Maddie.
I know, how
can
exciting.
Host your party.
We're going to get so sick of each other.
Check out our 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook.com/allaboutyoudj. You can give us a call at 812-402-0610, or check us out online at allaboutyoudj.com. And if you'd like to advertise on the Rob's Podcast with Maddie West, send an email to therobspodcast@gmail.com.
Woohoo!
By the way, how about this set?
Oh my goodness.
I kind of like it.
I love it.
Even a colorblind guy can appreciate all the color that's happening and the spinning lights. And
we got all the good stuff here.
This studio is actually better than the radio studio we used to work in, I feel like. But okay, where do you
as well?
So where do you want to start, Maddie?
Well, first of all, for those that might have forgotten, I feel like we should maybe do like a quick intro, or maybe for people that are listening in the future for the first time, because we're going to go viral and stuff. So when people are listening back to this a year from now, saying like, "Oh, what's that really cool podcast?" So you start.
Okay, so my whole life was radio. I wanted to be on the radio since I was in 4th grade. I went to college. I went to Penn State University, had a job in radio in State College, Pennsylvania. I've worked for the Howard Stern Show.
So cool.
As an intern, the Maury Povich Show.
Even cooler.
No, the Stern Show was cooler, but they were both pretty awesome. And so my career's taken me from, like I said, New York City to Billings, Montana, and then 13 and a half years ago brought me here to Evansville, Indiana, where I was on the radio both nights, afternoons, and mornings for about 13 years.
And that's how you met me.
And then the last 2 years of my career were with Maddie West.
Yeah.
And then
way less eventful than Rob's story.
Well,
but
that's my long story short and how I got here. And then when I was out here, kind of found myself falling in love with my wife, Brittany. Right after I got fired, we had our first baby.
Oh my gosh.
Who I can't wait to tell you all about.
I cannot wait.
And that's my story.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the people listening, at least to this one, kind of are familiar with us, but you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have nearly as exciting of a story as Rob.
You are Shelley's daughter. You have a very exciting story.
I cannot wait. If you were a fan of Shelley before, wait till I can tell you all the unfiltered versions of Shelley stories.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
But born and raised
Shelley
here.
probably can. She's probably texting you.
Yeah.
STFU.
But I was born and raised here in Evansville. I graduated with a journalism and radio and television degree from the University of Southern Indiana. And it was actually a friend that tagged me on Facebook in something that said, oh, this radio station is hiring for an on-air position.
That's right.
For like the morning show. And I was like, I'll never be on like morning radio. You got to start at the bottom, right? Wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I had to, but you didn't have to.
I just walked right in. And then, a couple years ago, after like what I can only explain to be like 13 and a half interviews, probably.
Oh, it was so needless. It was so much.
It was like, I'm not joking, like 6 months of interviews before they finally even let me in the building. But then I got the job and I worked on air with Rob for about, 2 years. And then when he was let go, I was on there solo for about 3 months, and then they were like, nah, she's not. Get her out of here. She was better with Rob. And I'm like, oh, yeah, everyone knew that. But and now here we are. But Rob and I just have such an on-air chemistry, especially.
So when I got fired, I was getting blown the F up about a podcast.
Yeah.
And
it's something that a lot of people have mentioned for a long time.
Yeah. And so I had kind of been trained over the years to think that like the podcast is for like the baby radio. It's like the people who want to have a job in radio but can't.
Right.
And then at some point over the past 5 years, it wasn't some point, it was progressively, it's become what people listen to.
That's all I listen to. Honest to God, I'm not just saying that because I'm here now.
I know.
Never get in the car and turn on my radio. Never.
So here's the thing.
Not even when I worked there.
When I turn on my car, it takes about 90 seconds for my phone to connect to my like car,
right?
The Bluetooth or whatever for my podcasts to start.
Yeah.
So during that 90 seconds, the FM radio is on.
Awful.
And it's the most painful 90 seconds. I can't even stand it.
Is it Lizzo again?
So, and that's the thing about podcasts, like radio, it's commercial laden.
Right, yeah.
It's got it's become so washed, whitewashed. It's become just the same thing on every station. And
You mean like a loop?
Well, the music. Okay,
Like
I
a
wasn't even.
program that you put in and it repeats every hour?
I'm talking about, for some reason, every radio station wants to talk about what national day it is. And like when I was growing up, and when in the first half of my career, I'll say the first 3/4 of my career, you didn't know what national day was because that's content for a weatherman.
Right.
Like that's not content for a morning show.
Right.
But yet, for reasons I may or may not explain over this episode, that's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And when it's National Pepperoni Pizza Day,
Right.
it's every station is talking about who in the tri-state
yes.
makes the best pepperoni
It's so tone
pizza.
deaf. I can't even.
Like, remember when that was our life?
Yeah.
And now we can talk about what actually is our life. So let's do
Yeah.
it. So
Let's get into the juicy stuff first, because that is what people want to hear first and foremost is what happened. I've been asked that question 700 times. I'm sure you have too. What happened?
We put videos up over the past few days asking people what they want to hear about. And what we kept hearing was,
what happened?
We want to know what happened.
Yeah, because there for a while, in both of our situations, you're kind of like forbidden to talk about it through, contracts or whatever. And now we kind of do have like this platform to give our side of the story.
So, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to be as fair as I possibly can.
A lot of people are disappointed to hear you say
No, I mean, well, I'm going to tell you my experiences.
Yeah, that's all we can ask.
And I want to start by saying actually a few nice things.
Okay.
Like, for example, I've had maybe 4 or 5 different radio jobs. There's a reason I stayed in Evansville for 13 years.
Right. People love you here. Seriously.
I appreciate you saying that. I love being here. I loved being on the radio here.
I loved being on the radio with you here.
Like, okay.
Anybody else, it just would not have.
I have a family, and like my son is alive because
Isn't that so crazy?
Because of Evansville radio.
Right.
So I'll never.
That's true.
I'll never be able to be like,
I regret this.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
And I'll even go as far as to say, I'll say the first 10 years.
Oh, so it's only whenever I came around.
I'll get to that. It's got nothing to do with you.
No, I know. I get it.
Blissful.
Yeah.
I loved my job for 10 years. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity to say that.
Right, yeah.
I especially loved my night show. My night show, people still talk to me about the night show.
Right.
And the Big Boy Days and the Dr. Rob stuff and just how edgy the night show was. And
well, buckle up, y'all.
I think that was what I want my legacy to be. So
Definitely.
That was from 2007 here in Evansville to 2011. I spent a quick 6 months in afternoon radio, which was painful.
Oh, is it?
And then
you should be really thankful that you got to have your own show in the afternoon. You should be very thankful.
Why? What am I missing?
You will get to it.
Okay. You were on middays, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So, and then that we moved to mornings, and the reason I moved to mornings was because at night you're only going to make so much money. You're only going. That's mornings is where it's at.
Morning is the hot spot in radio.
It's drive time. It's where people are listening.
Yeah.
So they moved me up there, and then so that happened in September of 2011, and then I got fired in August of 19. So let's just say 8 years I spent in morning radio.
Yeah.
And
it's so funny saying we got fired.
What's your Instagram handle?
You can follow me now on Instagram at Maddie Got Fired.
Go ahead and give Maddie a follow. And we have a show Instagram page too, don't we?
Yes, at The Rob's Podcast.
And if you're not following us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Rob's Podcast. No apostrophes or anything like that.
Hit us up on all social medias, yeah.
Yes, and please feel free to share and
look, they're already after us.
I can hear a siren out there too.
I'm already going to get served papers.
So It's the last two.
Where did it go bad? Yeah.
It's the last 2-3 years that things started to go bad. Like I said,
It was me.
I'm going to be as fair as I possibly can.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be like mean. I'm going to try not to be bitter. I'm just going to tell you what happened from my vantage point.
Yes, let's go.
And if anyone wants to say anything about it,
I haven't gotten in a good fist fight in a while, and I'm ready.
I'm saying you're welcome to come on. I'm sure no one's going to take me up on that offer.
Yeah.
But
if you would like to explain
things
a different side of things.
Okay, I don't want to say they started to go south in 2015 because that's not when they started to go south.
Yeah.
But that's when the story begins because that's when a guy named John left. And his job was our operations manager.
Okay, so that means he's kind of in control of the station.
So stations they're called program directors. At least that's what people call them.
Yeah.
A lot of people call them brand managers.
Right.
Either
way.
For the sake of the show, I'm going to call them program directors.
Okay.
And then they oversee a staff of DJs.
Us.
And then the program directors, they all answer to an operations manager.
Right.
And so
it's a big triangle of command.
And so Chad became the operations manager. And you know Chad, and Chad's the guy who hired you. And Chad's like a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah. We got along great.
Chad's someone who's like very easy to like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't hear a lot of people say a lot of bad things about Chad.
Right.
Because he makes it hard to.
Right, yeah.
And that was kind of my relationship with Chad. Chad worked in a different office. I very rarely saw Chad.
Right.
But when I did, it was always kind of cordial. Or like we had a similar taste in music. Not obviously country music, which is what he plays, but he liked pop music.
I thought you loved country music.
That was never a
I do remember that much.
So I don't know if it was immediate or if it happened over time, but I definitely came to learn that Chad didn't like me.
Okay.
And that might just be professional. It may have been personal, but he was definitely not a fan of my work.
I also sensed, for more than just him, but that you weren't liked.
Yeah, just by him, though.
Right.
So the first time things started to go south was right after I bought my house. So this was like July of 2017. We were just about...
This is right whenever I started actually coming into the office and kind of being behind the scenes.
You were not here yet. We were still in the old building.
Okay.
And I remember we had a staff meeting regarding a corporate monitor report.
Okay.
A corporate monitor report is when people from the corporate offices in like New York or Connecticut or wherever they are, they listen to the station and they take notes. And management would always tell us, these are not that important, don't worry about them.
Yeah.
And they would be really important. They would say that about like the ratings books too, and other things.
Yeah, we would still have meetings about them. It's like, it's not that important, but you're in trouble.
Well, and we still pay like $30,000 a year for the ratings books, but we don't really care about them very much. So I remember the feedback from this monitor report regarding the station, not my show specifically, but the station, was that the content was a little masculine. They cited an example from an afternoon show. One of the DJs talked about like video games. And then a different DJ talked about like a Marvel movie, which the corporate didn't feel was good content for a female-driven station. So, and there, to my understanding...
Wow, what a mistake to hire me. Like the least girly.
So, from my understanding, there wasn't anything specifically about my show that got dinged or whatever, but if it was, it didn't come up. I remember the other two DJs, and I remember who they were, but I won't say who they were. We only had male DJs at the time, which may have been a mistake, but that was out of my hands.
Right.
So... Because the feedback was the station's a little, and it was really only like those two breaks from what I understand, but the ding was a little masculine, maybe geared more towards
they
females.
listen, they've got to make a note. They made a note. You got to write something down.
The people, that's the
thing. It can't
thing.
be like, wow, this is absolutely wonderful. Wouldn't change a thing. They're always going to have something to change.
That's the other thing. It's like no matter what you did, it was never good.
You could have talked about Marvel movies one break and lipstick the next break, and they would have picked something else that was wrong.
And I mean,
that's their job, is to nitpick.
At the very least, you can make an argument that everybody watches Marvel movies.
Right.
Like, and this wasn't even my content, but like,
And it's 2020. Almost everyone's wearing lipstick too.
to defend the person who made like those comments, like, I wouldn't ignore if I wanted to talk about a Marvel movie on a female-driven station, I would do that. But so when that happened, when that meeting and that monitor report happened, that's when I noticed that the magnifying glass was really on me.
Okay.
And at that point, I think to Chad, I think he wanted me gone, and I think I couldn't do anything right in his eyes from that point forward.
Okay.
So once he had that mentality, I was unable to win. Right. I was unable to do anything right. So it's around that time that Maddie gets joined. And I remember around October of that year. So you started in August or September. And then around October of that year, they're like, I got called into a one-on-one meeting. It was like, this is bad. This is like, and Maddie's not here because Maddie's not the problem right now. I'm talking to you. And it was just, I'm talking about like the worst meeting I've ever had in my career. Yeah. And they did this like literally 45 minutes before I had to leave for a remote. And I'll just.
What's your remote's like a live broadcast somewhere?
Yeah, it was at like a Walmart, and but forget it. So,
oh, I love it.
Those became bi-weekly. Yeah, which is such a bad word because bi-weekly literally can mean every other week or twice a week. Yeah. So in this case, it meant every other week. Yeah. So every other Thursday, I would get raked over the coals. Like, I just felt like I've had my fair share of air checks in my 16-year career. Yeah.
An air check is where you listen to your show back. And and then they say, why are you doing that? You're awful at your job. You should leave.
Well, a lot of times they're like, hey, you did this really well. But I never got that from Chad. I got that from DJs at prior jobs. Yeah. And I also, before you started work with me, air checks weren't really a big part of my life.
Yeah, they did really start in on them.
But it wasn't you. It was because of that monitor report, I feel like, and just because Chad was looking for reasons to get me out. I do feel like the general manager did not want me gone at that point in time. Okay. I feel like he was saying, we got to get rid of him. And I think for a while, she really had my back.
Okay.
That's
good.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Obviously, the general manager is above the operations manager.
Right, it's a triangle.
When I look back, though, during that period, what's that?
Chain of command, that's the word I was looking for. I kept calling it a triangle.
When I look back at that time, though, and I use this word to you, like, because we were talking after I got fired, and I was like, my last 2 years there, I just felt like I was bullied, like professional bullying. Like we'd get in these meetings, and like it wasn't like junior high school bullying. Like, I wasn't getting called fat and ugly and bald, which all of those are valid complaints. But it was just like, you suck. Yeah. You suck. Why do you suck? Why do you keep sucking?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Even from the meetings that we would have together, it would be like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Okay, we're changing this. And the next week, we're changing this. Now you can't talk as long. Now you can't do this. Now you can't do this. Now you can't do this. In my opinion, I thought that we got along great on air. I thought we had good content, but it was still never what they were looking for.
It never needed to get nitpicked to the degree that it did.
It was very, very nitpicked. I will say that.
It got nitpicked. It came from a vantage point of, we want it to be bad. So do you remember? I remember several times we noticed this. They pulled audio, but they pulled from different days. Right. Because they were trying to find the worst things they could find.
Because sometimes we'd have great shows.
Every once in a while it happens.
Yeah. And then sometimes we would be like, oh man, totally missed the mark on that break. You know, everyone has, come on, you can't be perfect all the time.
I mean, I have experiences where the program director would tell me in one meeting, that break you did about, I don't remember what the content was awesome. Right. Great job. Yeah. And then the next day, after the OM got a hold of the PD, that break was awful. Can't believe you did that. And I'd be looking at this person like, you're
what
kidding.
Are you talking
you
about?
just told me yesterday you liked it, and he.
Right, I get you.
There's some people I'm really trying to not throw. Under the bus.
I know. I get it, and that's big of you.
So when that all happened, you're not going to be comfortable in the studio,
right?
When your work isn't being appreciated.
Yeah, the best part of our job was us.
Yeah, for sure.
That was it.
And you were the reason I could keep doing it, was because
Right.
we were such good friends. Like we had this amazing friendship that it was like, you kept my head in the game. And I'll never be able to thank you enough for that.
Oh, it's my
but
pleasure.
I remember like at this time,
I was
especially,
like, Rob's not going nowhere.
I don't know what it was about Sunday nights.
Yeah.
But Sunday nights especially, I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I was dreading going to work the next day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we had such a good, like I said, on-air presence as well. At least I thought, even though we were told numerous times that we didn't.
it was just like,
I always thought we had good banter. We had good jokes. I thought we were funny. I thought we were entertaining. The people that gave us feedback almost always said the same thing. And so that's why I was always really
and the numbers were always fine.
disappointed. Yeah,
Like
our
it was,
numbers were always good.
Yeah, it was like there was never anything to worry about except for, like I said, there was one person who really was gunning for me.
There was no way to give them the show that they wanted with us.
That was what I'm saying.
That's
We could
That's
not
it.
win
I mean,
internally.
It's just that simple. We were not capable for whatever reason, to whatever degree, to give them what they wanted.
And so like they would say, like they'd give us feedback, like we need you to
Change
have
this. Yeah, we would change that.
add this, add benchmarks. We want you to
Right.
think of these things. We want you to start
Right.
prepping differently. We want you.
More of this, less of this.
We would do everything they would tell us to.
and it was still never good enough.
It was always something.
I completely agree with that statement. There was so many times where I'm like, we're never going to win. It's never going to be. It's going to be this until it's the end, and that's exactly what it was.
And like the people who are listening to this, like that work there now, because I guarantee you they are.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like they're going to be like,
I'm doing just fine, boo boo. Thanks for tuning in.
They're going to be like, I can't believe he's saying these things about the operations manager. He's so nice.
No, he's a great guy.
That's the thing.
He's a great guy.
Wait until you get in his target, though. It's just like, and then when. Because he has the power to, like, it was never a game of power. Like, pal, you always had the power over me.
Yeah.
You're going to win this battle. Like,
Right.
if you want me gone,
If you want it bad enough, you'll get it.
you're going to beat me because you
Right.
have that power over me, and he did. So that was my experience with that part about it. So now people are probably saying, okay, if you didn't like your job so much, why didn't you leave? Okay, let's talk about that part. So this is going down. Now we're in December of 2017. I get engaged to my now wife. I get engaged to Brittany.
Yes.
And
I remember that.
I've got a wedding coming up now in 10 months. And I have all these things tied up in the wedding, which I am not complaining about. Like they were the company and the companies that endorsed me. I'm talking, I had flowers.
Right.
There
was a lot that was.
I had a photographer. I had a venue for my reception.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my rehearsal dinner. I had a DJ. I had Cody from Hear It All About You DJ.
Yeah.
All these things that I could not have done without the radio station. I would do endorsements.
Yeah.
And instead of getting
That
paid
is a
cash,
big benefit.
and
Yeah.
invitations. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about like they helped me to the tune of thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
But I couldn't bail before the wedding.
Yeah.
Because I have to do all these live reads, and so I was really
You do have an obligation and a contract with ties to these people when you agree to do something like that for them.
And I remember in January of 2018, I'm sorry, we were in December of 2017 before. Now we're in January of 2018.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my best friend on the phone, who was right after New Year's, and just like making conversations, like, do you have a New Year's resolution this year?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I want to change careers.
Yeah.
And he thought I was like, he's like, do you mean like a different radio job, like a bigger city?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I mean like I don't want to be in radio anymore. And I don't know if I meant that or not, but that's
Right.
what I didn't want to be in that job anymore. That much I knew. And he was
Yeah.
like, this is, I've never expected to hear you say this.
Yeah. Even sitting here now, it doesn't. I don't hear it correctly. I'm like, no, not Rob.
Yeah. So that's where my head was at, because these meetings were deflating.
Yeah.
And just like, I just felt like a punching bag.
Yeah, you always took them so hard. You know, I always had
They were brutal.
Yeah, they were. I always had the ability to kind of shake it off and just be like, whatever. But I know you were definitely, like you said, kind of the target there. And I know they always affected you way more than they affected me.
Yeah, because radio was my whole life.
Yeah.
Radio was when I moved to Evansville, I moved with a U-Haul full of my crap and knowing 0 people.
Right.
I only knew I had a job, and they put me up in a hotel for a month. I knew I had a job and a place to stay for a month.
Yeah.
I left a job I loved in Montana to come out here and be a part of this radio group. And It definitely, it became sour. Rightly or wrongly, it became sour.
Yep.
It also was like frustrating because like the feedback I was getting was like his way of telling people how to make their show better was to make them sound like himself, which was so infuriating because there's more than one way to do radio.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to sound like him, and I'm not saying he sounds bad.
Right.
He like I've never listened to his show, but I know it's appreciated, and I know that people like it, and he's a very big fixture in the community, and it's probably because he does a great job.
Yeah, he does do a great job.
And that's what worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it became, you need to prep the show the way I prep my show.
Right.
You need to answer. Remember, we had to answer the phones the same way he answered the phones.
Mm-hmm.
We had to pick up with Kiss 106. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah.
When for me, it's like, they're always saying Evansville, and we don't always need everybody's name,
Right.
but that we had to pick up the phone the same way every time. And we had to do the GD national days every day. It was like, we had to do Ron Rhodes content every day.
Yeah.
What that national day stuff, that's great content for a weatherman. And I'm not even being sarcastic.
Right.
It's just not great content, at least in my opinion, for a morning radio show.
Yeah, definitely. I got that vibe as well. Well, I didn't get that vibe. That's exactly what it was, is that they wanted every station to do the same stuff and sound almost identical. And it was to the point where we were kind of shoved into a corner, and we would do something for our Facebook page based on the guidelines we were given of, you know, what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And then we would turn around and the other station has the exact same idea, because they had limited our imagination that much to where the only thing we could think of to do was what everyone else was thinking of to do too. And
it was the only quote unquote right thing to do.
Oversaturated.
So like, I just kind of wish that I had the kind of the freedom to be, like, okay, I remember, and I don't know if you had to watch this because you were part-time, but I remember we had to watch like these corporate videos about like acceptance and tolerance in the workplace. Yeah. And so like, I remember in the video, and there'd be like questionnaires at the end, there'd be quizzes at the end. Right. There'd be like a predominantly white workplace, and then there'd be like a Muslim guy. It was like a hijab and like, you know, and like he had like a Muslim name or whatever. And it would be like, so this guy has a different background and he has a different way to approach the problem. What should you do? And the correct answer was like, listen to the opinions and see if it works. Like, you know, like that was the right thing to do. Be
inclusive, yeah.
And I realized that I was like that guy because if you look at every DJ on in that building, they're all from here. Literally, they're all from within a 200-mile radius of here. Yeah. If not a 45-mile radius from here.
Right, I would say, probably even smaller than that.
And I'm the one guy that I come from Philadelphia, and I have different influences, and I have different upbringings, and I have a different, like, who else? Everyone at that school probably went to USI.
Everyone says because, and you say because.
Exactly. I know what fugazi means.
You do?
Yeah.
And that was just one of the many things you taught me.
So I was the guy who, while I didn't wear a hijab, I was the Muslim guy in the video. Like, I was the guy who had the different outlook, who had a different approach to solving problems. Yeah. And I would just get beat up for it. And it was so sad. And like, the other thing that makes me sad is I've had several people, especially after I got fired, but even before, again, I won't name names right now, tell me, you taught me so much. Yeah. You helped me. You showed me a different way of doing radio. Thank you for that. Yeah. And I keep thinking about how the operations manager is in such an amazing position to help talent grow, to be a better broadcaster, and to find what they're good at and really let that flourish. And my experience with that was just the opposite. It was just deflating. Yeah. And it was...
We were definitely put into such a tiny, tiny box.
Yeah. And it was just like, you can make people better, but instead you just want to make everyone sound like you, like...
The same.
That's just such a bummer. Yeah. Like, what a letdown.
And actually... I mean, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. It's offensive for you to put someone like you or I into a box when we have such big personalities and so much more to share, and you're going to take that away from us. And so that never sat right with me, because I'm like, I am better than this box that you're putting me in.
Yeah, we were.
I'm funnier than this box that you're putting me in. I communicate better than this box that you're putting me in. But no one's ever going to get to see that, because you've literally taken my voice away from me.
Yeah, and you've taken our whole, like, we have so much happening in our lives. Like, this is such an exciting time. Like, you were having having your first child.
Yeah, I birthed a whole baby.
I was getting married. Like after
you did it the right way.
After like 8 years of like this insanely over the top single macho kind of presentation to my show, like now I'm settling down and I'm starting this life with a woman I love and starting a family and
it
getting married.
It was such a change in dynamic, definitely.
So my point was, throughout my career, I was blessed to have people that helped me be better for me.
I think our camera's messed up. I don't know how long it's been like that, but
maybe it is. Maybe I don't know if we're rolling or not. Either way, we've got audio.
Yeah, we got audio.
We'll make it work.
Okay.
I had people who want to make me better for me. People like, it was mostly people in my first job, people in State College, Pennsylvania. I'll shout out 3 come to mind extremely fast. Jerry Valeri.
Oh, I love him. I am in love with him.
He taught me things to help me get better for me.
He's such a good person.
A guy named Chris and a guy named Mike Martin all helped. Mike gave me my first shot for me. It wasn't for him. Like it was to help me. And I love him for that. I love all those people for that reason. I only met one person in my career who tried to make me worse for himself. And maybe you could say I'm lucky because in 16 years, I've only met one person that I didn't want to meet. But that was my experience there.
And it sucks that it had to end that way.
It does. So then we get to the wedding. And now it's like, okay, what do I want to do now? Do I want to stay? Do I want to go?
Yeah.
Guess what happens in December?
Uh-oh.
Not uh-oh. I was married.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh-oh was my situation. What was your situation?
We found out in January that my wife was pregnant.
Oh, my gosh. I'll never forget when you told me, you said Brittany and I are going to have a baby, and I thought that meant that you guys were going to try for a baby, but you were telling me that she was pregnant, and I was like, oh, wow, that's so exciting. And that was literally my reaction, and you were like, like she's pregnant. And then I was like, oh, like there's already a baby in there.
You were the first person I told that wasn't my family.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So then you find out you're going to be a dad. So
it's like not an opportune time to kind of change careers.
Right. Scary.
And plus
a
like
big risk.
I kind of wanted to go on this ride with the listeners. Like people knew me for 13 years.
Yeah.
Like if you like, okay, so you're what? You're 26?
I just turned 27.
So you were 26 when I was pregnant when Brittany was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I had been on your radio since you were 13. Like that's like your whole life.
Yeah.
That's literally half your life.
People want to know. And it really sucks that got taken away too.
And I wanted to tell them.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, maybe 2020 we can start talking about this stuff. But so there was always some reason that I couldn't leave. And another thing that bothered me is like,
and me, duh. We were pretty
Maddie,
fun.
I loved working with you. You were the reason I kept coming in. Like, trust me on that.
Yeah, we did. We had a great time together. It was so much fun. And it was so exciting to go through all of these. Even though Rob and I have really only known each other for a few years, it doesn't feel that way. And that is one thing that we always heard in these meetings. Probably the only positive thing was that our banter and our conversation, it seems like we've known each other forever.
They always said it sounds like you guys are best friends.
And I mean, we are.
That was
the
thing. It's like we quickly became best friends.
Absolutely. And we were going through all of these really exciting times together. And I just kind of feel like it got robbed. No pun intended.
So
they robbed the Rob. Hashtag rob the Rob.
So I remember like we were researching like, you know, timelines and like what to expect when you're expecting kind of stuff. And they're like, okay, around the end of the first trimester is when you can start telling people. That's when it becomes safe to tell people.
That's like the golden rule of,
And they're like, besides family and close friends, the first people you should tell are your employers. And so I was like, okay, I remember
doing that. Yeah.
I wanted to give them that respect. The only person in the office who knew before our general manager was you, because I couldn't sit in that room with you for 4 hours every day and keep that under my hat.
Yeah.
It was so hard. There was like just a couple of weeks before I told you, if that, it may have only been like one.
Yeah.
And it was so hard.
Right.
And that was even before we saw the ultrasound.
You don't even understand like how close you are with someone when you're in a room with them for like 4 hours a day. Like there are no secrets.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not tell them everything.
It's a relationship it's so unique to that situation.
Yeah.
And
Rob was through my pregnancy with me more than my own fiance.
Yeah,
that's just the
we
that's
worked
just
together.
facts.
It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we were in a situation where we got along.
Yeah.
And it could have been a much worse situation, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so, like, God, it bothers me now looking back because I almost wish I didn't do that, because I remember the way the general manager reacted, and I look back on it now as so insincere, because it was like, give me a hug. And I remember she asked me like what I was feeling, like what are you feeling the most? What emotion are you feeling the most right now? And I was like, I'm scared.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
it's terrifying to be a parent.
And I regret saying that to her, because I feel like
you showed her that you were like vulnerable.
I feel like there's a part of me that feels like she liked that, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
And not that, I don't even know how I'm trying to word what I'm trying to say. I think that she liked being in control of people's well-beings and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't hate this person. I want to make that clear. It's just that
again, a hard person to hate.
This person also then fired me 16 days before I had
your son was
before my son was born, and I am bitter about that. And
hello.
During this time that's supposed to be this monumental, life-changing, happy time, which, don't get me wrong, it was.
Right. But that's still sitting there.
This humongous thing, what used to be
that's
my
your
whole
life. Yes, it's literally your life.
You
just boom, gone.
And you did it after 13 years of service. You did it 16 days before I had my son. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's my story.
It speaks a lot. We'll just leave it at that.
That's my story, and I am sorry it wasn't funny, and I know it was
We
long.
have got so much funny stuff coming up. Yeah. People wanted to know.
And this is going to be like a different kind of episode. We're going to get to a point where it's going to be sounding like a radio show.
Yeah. This is just what happened and how we got to where we're at right now, which is starting a podcast.
So I let the world know that I got fired. I had this...
This is August of last year, so it's been almost a year ago.
August 21st. I will never forget, and I mean this, I'm not saying this in like a narcissistic, douchey kind of way. Like, hundreds of people just showed me so much love.
Oh, trust me, I was still there when you were let go. And the amount of hate and negativity that we were getting after they fired you was enough to make me want to leave, because I kept coming into work every day to people not yelling at me or, you know, getting shitty with me, but they were like, what happened? And I was in a really awkward position where I had to just like pretend like, Rob who?
That's protocol.
It never set well with me, and I went with it. You know, I was just like, I just never addressed it. I just never said anything. And it was so much hate and so much negativity on all of our social media pages, people calling constantly, where we had to like literally turn the phone off because people like, where's Rob? Where's Rob? Where's Rob? And I'm just like, well, a lot of people also just assumed that you had your son and that you kind of went on like your, you know.
Because they fired me that close to when my son was supposed to be born.
That people are like, oh, Rob had the baby, and then you never came back. And then people are like, wait, he's never coming back ever?
So I was... I got messages all the time from people. It was every day for like 2 months. Like, where are you?
It was every day for 2 months on our side of things as well.
And I mean, it was like, oh God, I remember you guys like had to turn off you couldn't rate Kiss anymore.
Yeah, we had to turn off the ratings because everyone was giving horrible ratings and writing really horrible things.
So yeah, what was it like for you? Because you were on the next morning, weren't you?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get into, I guess, my story and then how I ended up fired too. But so once they fired Rob,
I'm so glad you're here. I'm
so excited.
This is what I wanted.
Here we go. I'm fired up now. So they asked me that day, the day that they fired you, they asked me to go to lunch. And they say that the operations manager is coming to lunch as well as the brand manager. And they're like, do you want to go to lunch? And I'm like, okay, this is either really bad, like they're going to let me go and they're just doing it nicely.
With some food.
Or, which is, listen, If you're going to fire me with food.
Linda, listen.
Linda, listen. Or it's going to be good. I'm going to get a promotion of some sort. They're going to ask me to step up and do more responsibilities, which I would have politely declined like I did every other time. I literally I did the bare minimum always. But,
Which I'm so jealous of you by, because like, I used to tell you this face to face. Like,
yeah.
You had bigger balls than I did. Mm-hmm. Anytime
Shelly raised me.
I know, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like, anytime they asked me to do something,
you would always do it.
I know.
And I would be like, absolutely not.
They're like, Rob, we need you to throw hot dogs across the auditorium into someone else's apron because it's German, it's Oktoberfest or something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do this.
And I'm like, that's insulting for me to even do that.
You have to be here at like 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And like, I've got a family now, or I had a wife at the time and 2
pregnant
dogs.
wife. Whew.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to throw a hot dog down a hallway. Like, but you would say no.
I would be like, no, I'm not doing that.
And even Brittany would be like, stop saying you'll do these things. And I'm going to be like,
it got to the point where they didn't even ask me anymore because they were like, Maddie's always going to say no.
I remember the best was, oh my gosh, it was so funny because it was just like an email chain. It was like a mass email for our station. It was like, we're going to go to local high schools every Friday night.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And Maddie was like, I read back, sounds great. I'll be there. And Maddie was like, I'll give you guys one Friday a month, except during this times, and I can maybe do this one possibly. I'm like, God, do I admire that.
Well, I was raised by, my mother, who turned out to be extremely successful, and by just doing
Love you, Shelley.
Whatever in the F she wants to do when she wants to do it. And that's the mentality I have. If it makes me uncomfortable, if it's not beneficial to me, I ain't going to be there. I ain't doing it.
I admired it.
I ain't doing it.
I admired it.
And so they just eventually stopped asking me to do things. But so they sit me down at lunch, and I'm not even joking. I am sliding into the booth at that roof place, that's the restaurant downtown in Evansville.
I know the one you're talking about.
I'm sliding into the booth, just want to enjoy my Cobb salad. And before I could even sit down, they're like, we fired Rob today. Boom. Like a dagger to the heart. I remember freezing to the point where like my quads started burning because I was in like the hovering sitting position for so long because I was just that shocked. Like, oh my gosh, and I was like, what? And at this time, it was just the brand manager I was sitting with. It was just she and I. And she's the one who broke the news to me. The operations manager hadn't showed up yet, but he was on the way. And he was running late. And so she just broke the news to me before he got there, I guess, just to kind of hurry up and get it. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, it just wasn't working. And I was like, why? And, they gave me all their bull crap reasons.
If they gave you any reasons, by all means, you can.
No,
there wasn't like that.
Yeah,
the reason was 2 years of wanting me gone.
Right.
That was
just
the reason.
like, well, we kept wanting you to change things, and you guys aren't changing things, and we kept wanting you to do this, and you guys weren't doing that. And I'm like, so am I fired? Because like the way you're presenting it is, hey, the show isn't what we want it to be, and we kept giving you guys all these opportunities to make it what we wanted, and you didn't, and so we had no choice but to fire Rob. And I'm like, well, that didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, if we're not doing it, then why am I still here? I felt in a very awkward position because obviously it's a job. It's a job that I enjoyed. I didn't like who I worked for, but I liked what I did.
Yeah, the way I worded it was, I didn't like who I worked for, but I liked who I worked with.
Yeah.
There was most of like.
I liked who I worked with when we were there, and then after that, I didn't like who I worked with anymore.
So go ahead.
So, so they tell me, we fired Rob.
Oh, and you told me what you said. You told me the first thing you said was, he's about to have a baby.
Yeah, literally. I was like...
And I remember you said her response was, oh, we gave him a severance.
Right. Yeah, we gave him, his severance and stuff like that. And I
Which I don't know if I'm allowed to share the details of that, but I'm just like, boy, thanks.
Wow. A job would have been nicer, but okay, I'll take it. So I'm like, oh my God, like his son is due like tomorrow. Like Brittany's crowning. Like how can you just let him go like that? Yeah, that's the first thing I said was just like, oh my gosh, she's about to have a baby. And I remember looking out the window and then seeing the operations manager walk up. But before that, he had called the brand manager and he was like, have you already told her? And of course I can hear him on the other line of the phone. And she's like, yes. And he's like, is she freaking out? So I think everyone kind of knew. And then the brand manager's like, no, she's okay. I think everyone knew that it was like a breakup. Like, how is Maddie? Is she okay? Like, so I was like, I'm confused. So I'm still here? And they're like, oh, yeah, oh boy, do we have so many exciting things for you. And I was like, more exciting than having my own morning show with Rob? Entertain me. Like, how is it going to get better than this? I'm sorry, but it's not.
They would always do, they always.
Yeah, it was always such a grand idea. And I remember when they told me that, like, we have all these exciting things for you, I was just like, so you mean you're going to put me somewhere and I have no say in it and I'm just going to have to do what you tell me to do?
Remember when the exciting thing was we got to wake up a half hour earlier?
It was so much fun.
Guys, it's going to be super awesome. We want more Rob and Maddie.
Yeah.
So they're going to start at 5:30
in the morning
instead of 6.
Yeah, whatever, man. But
by the way, why do we have to do that? Because the other station did it too.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's radio.
Because
in a nutshell,
everything
honestly
had to be the same.
But yeah, so they moved me. First of all, I ran the morning show until they got the syndicated show that's playing now. They had to work
Which, boy, people seem to like.
Oh, yeah, it's a hit. So basically, I had to fill in for the morning show solo until they got... And trust me, every part of me wanted to leave.
I remember you had a partner at least for one show, that because everyone kept telling me...
Oh, yeah. I had another girl that I worked with that filled in occasionally. And that was fun, too. And a lot of people thought that was like the new norm. And I was like, no, like they're literally just trying to kill time until they get all these deals worked out with the syndicated show.
They've got something so good on the horizon.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Just wait till you see.
Was it? Let's just say we had to keep the ratings off. They're still off. But so they moved me to middays after I ran the morning show for, I would say, like a month. I had to do it by myself, which sucked. And it's really boring to do the morning show by yourself. It's really boring to be on radio by yourself, period. But then they gave me...
But wait, there's more.
They gave me middays with Maddie. Okay, so this is where I will say they were kind of justified in their like opinion and overall attitude towards me, because the second they said that they fired Rob, I was done. Like, I had emotionally checked out. I was like, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm not in it anymore. I don't want it. No, I'm going through the motions at this point. I became literally impossible to work with, like more so than before. Like, I would talk to no one. I would isolate myself, and I did that on purpose. Like, it was 100% me. So they're like, Maddie, why are you not happy in your job? And I'm like, because I'm choosing not to be happy in my job. 100% it was me being just an a-hole. Yeah. Just like, I will fully take credit for that. I was very hard to work with, but I was very unhappy because you took away my morning show. You put me on middays. You act like I should kiss your feet because I got my own midday show. I am better than that. We were better than that. It was a demotion. Literally, it was a demotion. They demoted me to middays. And when I complained and I was like, I really miss being on the morning show in general, but especially with Rob. Obviously, I understand Rob's not going to come back, but why couldn't I have taken over the morning show? Why couldn't I have done something? And they're like, but you have your own midday show. And then that's when the operations manager kind of got a little rude with me and acted like I was really unappreciative for having my own show. Basically like, well, we could have got rid of you too. Even though he never actually said that. That was very much the overall feeling, like, you're going to complain about having your own show. And I'm like, are we going to say, okay, operations manager, you go to middays. So much fun, right? It's a blast, right? Oh my gosh, everyone's gonna listen to you. It's your own show. Woo!
No one to tell you what to do.
I was so blatantly honest in every single meeting that we had, though, to the point where they would like have to check in on me, like, you still hate it? And I would literally always be like, yeah. And then it would just like a month would go by. Do you still hate it? Yep. Well, your numbers are up. It's not that's not the part that I hate. Like, I don't hate talking to people and being on the radio.
Yeah.
Like, I hate this atmosphere and I hate working here in my situation.
And I'm sorry that's what you went through.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of it was me just flat out resisting and just being unhappy because they fired you and just being like, I don't care. Like, I honestly woke up every day and was like, oh, they're going to fire me today because I'm like just really feeling bitchy.
You used to always tell me.
I'm really feeling bitchy today.
I remember there was one time you told me you got in trouble for sharing a picture with me.
Oh, do we want to go there? Okay.
Well, whatever. I mean, this is your...
So this is like the real downfall and ultimately why I think I was fired.
Okay. I was even talking about the first one.
Oh. Oh, no. I got in trouble for that one, too.
You shared a memory.
I just shared a memory.
From Fall Fest.
Yeah, and
so
I
it
was
must have
just
been
like,
October.
oh, I miss Rob. Miss you, friend. Got called into a meeting.
Yeah, on your personal, it wasn't like on
my personal Facebook page, right? And I got in trouble for that, for
being friends with me.
For being friends with you after you were fired. Because once again, I had to pretend like you didn't exist. And I had to pretend like the 2 years that we had on air and all the memories and all the fun didn't exist. And I had to act like that, against my will, obviously. I felt like especially the people that listened deserved to know what happened. And I was put in a corner. No, you can't address it. No, eventually they'll calm down. Eventually they'll go away. Eventually people will move on. But I was like, I need to make like a
Which is
PSA.
true. Like that's
Right.
what they have to do.
Right.
Like you can't expect Maddie to go on the air the next day and be like, hey, they fired Rob.
Right. I wasn't allowed to. Trust me, I wanted to. I thought people deserved to know.
It's just not the real radio world.
It's not how it works. Right. So that didn't sit right with me. So, of course, I did what anyone would do and shared more pictures of me and Rob. Again, I became very difficult to work with. And
so
then,
that last one. So we saw each other at Super Bride.
Super Bride Sunday. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, I am a bride. My wedding caught COVID and had to reschedule. But I am getting married in August. And so when Super Bride Sunday rolled around, I went, even though it's technically a competing radio station's event.
Correct.
I'm a bride.
And I was also there as a representative of All About You DJ.
Right.
I didn't even
This is just like a few months ago.
Yeah,
for the record.
That's Bridal Expo season. That was like the last of a season of bridal shows. Like I'd probably been to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And
It's
never...
arguably the biggest around here.
Never even expect... It's 100% the biggest around here. And...
You can win free stuff. You can see all kinds of cool stuff. You get free food.
It's got heritage. It's the one
I had to pretend like I had no cake, no food. I'm like, yeah, I'll try your food. I don't have a caterer yet. My wedding was all the way planned. I was getting married in like a month at that point.
And so I was happy to see you.
Yeah.
And
I was happy to be there, even though I did know that it was a competing radio station's event. I was a bride. It's the biggest bridal expo around. And my maid of honor was like, I'm going to take you here. It's going to be so much fun. Someone comes up to me and they're like, did you know Rob is here? Mind you, we had not seen each other. I mean, we had obviously talked and communicated, but we hadn't seen each other since you had gotten fired.
Yeah.
So it had been like 7 or 8 months.
Okay, so let's see. It was August to February.
Yeah. So how many? That's a lot of months.
All right, hold on. We have to cross over the new year. So hold on. September, October, November, December, January. So 6 months.
6 months. Yeah. It had been 6 months. Obviously, we still talked all the time, but so I saw Rob there and I was like, we should get a picture. And just really to put the cherry on top of the cake, I'll make sure I check in here.
So I was like, I dare you to post it. And you were like...
I am so exposing myself right now because I went into that meeting and was like, I had no idea.
I was like, I dare you to post it and tag Super Bride Sunday. And your response was like, I already did. And I was like, you are the best.
If you're wondering what's the big... I was literally begging to be fired. But if you're wondering what's the big deal, it's a competing radio station's event.
Yeah.
And I represent this station, which I did horribly. And so it's a huge no-no. Like, even if you go, I have to like wear my hood up and like just pretend like I'm not there. And they were just like... But I also think it was because I took a photo with you. So I take a photo with Rob. I check in at Super Bride Sunday. And holy moly, that was the end of my career at Town Square right there. Which I knew. I knew in my head. I was like, this is the nail in my coffin. I said that. I said, this is it.
Like, to anyone who saw in like that picture, you were looking at history in the making.
Literally. Because,
like I said, I remember I was like, I dare you to do it.
It was so schemed.
You were like, I just did.
And I went into that meeting and they were like, did you do this on purpose? And I was like, no, I would never. And then I'm like, am I fired? And they're like, no. And I'm like, damn it, I'll try again.
So you had the meeting because you took a picture with me.
And I checked in at a competing radio station's event. And I'm like, but still, first and foremost, I'm a bride and a person. I can go do whatever I want and go wherever I want, check in on Facebook. This is my personal Facebook page. And they print out this BS from the handbook about how even on my personal page, bleh, whatever.
If you've ever wondered if Maddie is a real one, how did you respond to them trying to take control of your social media? This is, if you want to know who Maddie is, this is the act that defines who she is.
So once I realized they were like stalking my Facebook page and seeing where I was checking in and what I was doing, I deleted everyone I worked with and blocked them from all my social media pages.
So Maddie, I forget if you called or texted me. I think you texted me, and you were like,
I'm like, go check how many mutual friends we have now.
Like, check our mutual friends, see if I missed anybody. And I would send her the names.
The house. I deleted
literally everyone she worked with.
I'm talking like my boss's boss's boss. You're all gone.
Yeah.
I deleted all of them.
And then
they were like, why did you delete us from social media? Like, we're 15.
So then the next day you have another meeting.
Another meeting, yeah.
Which, I mean, I wasn't surprised. We all knew it was going to happen.
Right.
But how does that meeting go?
They're like, why did you delete me from social media? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Becky. Did I hurt your feelings? Like, you're stalking my social media. You're seeing where I'm checking in. And they're like, well, even on your personal pages, you still represent Town Square. And I'm like, okay. Well, like, if you scroll back far enough in my Instagram, I'm like smoking a bowl on there at some point. Like, if you're worried about me representing you, it should have happened, I don't know, 21-ish. That's when you should have been worried about me representing your station. But here we are. But I'm like, I bong beers on like Instagram Live. Like, this is the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
so that's what you did, and I was just
that was it. That was the downfall of Maddie West.
She's so legit.
Yeah.
When you say ride or die, like Maddie, Maddie's ride or die.
I got your back, bro. And then so then when the COVID stuff happened, which was the second week of March, I went on vacation the first week of March, and I came back, and they let me go like right when quarantine kind of started over the phone.
Yeah.
They called me and they were like, hey, it's this person, and I have the operations manager with me. And right then I was like, here we go.
You do a good impression.
Yeah, thank you. I've heard it more than I would like to admit. But I knew when she said I have the operations manager with me, I was like, oh, they're going to fire me. And Kent had actually just came downstairs because he was working from home at that point. And I remember holding the phone down and I was like, they're going to fire me. And Kent with both hands up is like, yeah. But as much crap as I talk, I did get a little bit emotional, and I hated that they got to hear that from me because I didn't want them to hear me get upset. I was never upset to be let go from that company. I was upset that I wasn't on the radio anymore because I do really love doing that, and I love entertaining people. My favorite thing in the world is to make people laugh and be funny, and so, that did suck.
I didn't. And I had always played it, especially over the past years, I'd kind of played it out in my head. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I'd be able to hold it together in the meeting where I get fired. Yeah. And then like when I get out to my car or get home or whatever,
then you cry.
Yeah. And that didn't happen.
I cried on the phone like such a baby.
But I do regret, I was like super friendly.
You think it would be opposite, right? You think I would be the stone cold one, but it's not how it worked.
I was so uninvested too. Mm-hmm. It was just like I was checked out, mm-hmm. and I didn't want to be there anymore, and they didn't want me there. And I mean, if it had been the way it was the previous 10 years, mm-hmm. hey, I'd be bummed. Right. I'd probably be sobbing.
I do think the reason I reacted, though, too, the way that I did and got really upset is because it's such a scary time in our country right now. And like to lose your job in the middle of a pandemic, it was just like, I do rely on that extra income. And Kent had started working from home and they weren't really sure if they were going to lay him off. And it was just and I'm like, okay, now it's real.
If you're wondering also,
I was making bank. Trust me. Yeah. Oh, God, they really pay you well there.
I'm sure it's really tough to get fired during a pandemic. I got fired 16 days before I had a child. My only child.
Yeah, you win.
So just like, they've... So that's that's my story.
That's our story, and that's how we are now. And like I said, this is something Rob and I have wanted to do for a really long time. And I seriously, even sitting here right now, can't even believe it. Had you told me this is what would have happened when we first started the Rob's radio show with Maddie West, I'd be like, there's no way. We're going to be on morning radio forever.
So everyone, the other question we're getting a lot of that I want to address is, mm-hmm. how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
I'm doing well,
I'm going to reiterate it just for those listening. Just for those few listening that are wanting me to be like, oh my God, my life fell apart. My life's been apart.
You can't break what's broken.
I'm doing great. Okay, I have my extensions in today.
You got your hair
I'm
did?
feeling great. Yes. No, I'm actually doing very well. I still don't have a job. This is my job now.
I have a baby.
You have a whole kid.
I
had a whole kid, and we already got to talk about my whole kid for long enough.
It's so much more than I like. Even because when we were getting close, it was getting to me.
Yeah.
It is the most amazing thing
Is
I've
it
ever
not?
done.
I told you. It's just something you have to experience to really get.
Like even just this morning,
Everyone go out and have a baby right now.
I
If
was
you were looking for a sign.
I was
Here it
making
is.
this face to Will. My son's name is Will.
Yeah.
And every time I'd make the face, he'd start cracking up.
Oh, it's the best.
And
he's at that age where he does the belly laugh, and it's just so cute.
he makes me cry. Mm-hmm. Like just out of happiness. Like,
Yeah.
I love you so much
I know.
that tears are coming out and I
Yeah.
can't control them.
I tell Woodson every day, I'm like, I would die for you.
Yeah.
Like literally, if someone walked up in here, I would use my body as a human shield to protect you.
I understand exactly what
I would use Kent as a shield to protect my son. That's just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a second to think about. I mean, I would
Yeah.
die for him.
Literally.
I love him more than I
It's
love
such a
anything.
love.
And I've never experienced it before. And God, for people who want to know how he is, first of all, if you say
So
he's
freaking cute.
anything other than the cutest baby you've ever seen,
Literally
it's
the
fighting
cutest
words.
baby I've ever seen, and I have one.
Thank you for saying that. He's humongous.
Yeah, so cute.
He's over 27 pounds.
Oh my gosh, Rob, are you serious?
He's over.
Woodson's 32 and he's 2.
We haven't gotten his the percentile he's in, but I guarantee you he's top 1 or 2%
Yeah,
of weight.
definitely. Well, yeah, Woodson is, and he's got him beat almost.
Yeah, so he's not even 9 months old.
Yeah.
And he's 27 plus pounds.
Oh my goodness, such a little chunker. I love it.
He is
Looks exactly like you. Exactly.
I see my
like
wife in
you.
there too.
I
but
do. I do see Brittany.
I get that all the time though, and I take it as a compliment because he's literally the most beautiful thing I've ever laid eyes on.
He's so cute.
He's always happy.
Yeah.
He is always laughing. Mm-hmm. He loves.
You're so lucky. My kid was such an ass for 8 months.
No, when we look back and we were discussing this, there's no way we'll be able to say he was anything other than a happy baby.
Really?
He was just
can't relate.
He was always happy.
Cannot relate.
Is always
You're so
happy.
lucky. Remember, I would tell you these horror stories, and I'm like, Rob, what if you have a kid like Woodson? He cries nonstop. He had colic for 4 months. I mean, we really had the go around with our newborn.
You just said his name.
I did, yes.
You gave that to us.
I did, yeah.
Maddie would never say his name on the radio.
No, I never let anybody in on my personal life to that extent on the radio because they just used it for clickbait, and I didn't like that. They used my pregnancy for clickbait. They used, your wedding for clickbait. And
Oh, yeah, that was upsetting.
I didn't like giving that side of myself under someone else's watch. But yeah, I have a son. His name's Woodson, and he's going to be 2 on the 19th, and I cannot believe it.
Yeah, I remember you told me when you said you had to move your wedding because your wedding got COVID.
Yeah, it got COVID. I was supposed to be married in April.
Didn't you say the first thing she said was, you're going to blog about this, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, I just had to reschedule my wedding. And you're worried about me blogging it so that I get views. That's just how it was. So no, I never really talked much. I talked as little as I could about stuff like that on the radio while still trying to let people in and keep people informed.
Yeah.
I was very reserved about that.
And then the story you kind of alluded to a second ago was, and I never made a big hairy deal about this, but I did tell you, and it definitely bothered my wife.
Yeah.
So everyone at work was invited to my wedding, and some people came. And
I was there.
Yeah, Maddie
So
came.
much fun. Got drunk. Loved it. Open bar. Thanks, Nancy.
And then there was one person who, took video of our entrances and stuff.
This is before anyone has seen anything from your wedding.
We didn't
No
even have a
pictures?
chance to share it. If
Yeah,
someone's
no
going to
pictures,
share it, it
nothing.
should probably be freaking me.
Right.
Or at least ask my permission. But
Right.
no, the headline we see when we're on our honeymoon in Punta Cana, check out the entrances, check out the crazy wild entrances at the Rob's wedding.
Yeah.
Didn't even ask me.
It just shared all of your, a whole insight to your wedding without even
didn't even
asking.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Or getting permission.
drop me like, hey, can I took video of your entrances. They were awesome. Can you, because we all came out to like wrestling stuff and it had high energy and it was
cool.
blog worthy, I guess, but it's kind of my blog to write. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was the same way about my pregnancy. I was still sitting in the hospital with a baby on my boob when I got a message that said, hey, they want you to send out an email to acknowledge the fact that you've had your kid. Do you want me to do it? And I'm like, why am I obligated to send out a company-wide email saying that I just ripped my vagina open? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not obligated to do anything. I'm not obligated to do jacks, but it was just all about people knowing your business and using that not to like be happy for you, but just to get them
to get
views.
clicks, likes, and shares. That's been
and it never
kind
set well with me. But I plan on talking all about my son on here and saying his name again. It's Woodson, and if you steal my baby name, I'll come for you.
I don't think you have to. Do you want to tell people how you came up with it?
Yeah,
because it's an awesome name.
Yeah, we're huge.
By the way, he is the cutest.
He's effing crazy.
Because I see him a lot on Snapchat.
He said the F word today. I'm so proud.
Stop it.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I have to tell you what my son did, but finish your story.
Yeah. No. I can't remember what we were. Oh, how we came up with his name. Kent and I are really huge Oakland Raiders fan, or Las Vegas Raiders now. Sorry. And there is a former player for them, and his name is Charles Woodson. We are very big fans. He played for the Packers, played for Michigan. A pretty well-known player if you know football. And when we were kind of coming up with names, we were tossing around the idea, and we said if we had a girl, we would name her Oakland. And then I was like, this is so white trash. I love it. Let's keep it going. Like nothing says like this is America more than like naming your kid after a football team. And so we were kind of tossing around the ideas of last names. We were like, oh yeah, and Ken's favorite player is Charles Woodson. And we were like, what about Woodson? And then from then on, we were just like, Woodson it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so now there's a lot of pressure. Are we going to name our next one, if or when we have one, after another football player? And the answer is absolutely.
I'm pulling for Oakland. I like that.
I really like Oakland, too. But then some people had to like do like Oakland.
Because aren't you and your sisters all like Lynn's?
We're all Lynn's, too. And so, but now I know like some Oakleys. I don't know. That might be too close. And now even they're the Las Vegas Raiders, but still.
I still like it.
I do too. But knowing my luck, I only have boys. Anyway, so what did Will do today? What milestone?
It was
did he
yesterday.
reach? Yeah.
It was the funniest thing. So he's 8 months old. Mm-hmm. It's way before potty training time.
Yeah.
But
well, trust me, 2 is apparently way before potty training time too. But what do I know?
So
nobody wants to pee on Elmo.
We're getting him ready for his bath, and Brittany's like, he didn't pee in his diaper yet. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's been like, I forget how long it was or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And she's like, you want to go on the potty, buddy?
Aww.
You want to go on the potty? So we put his little naked butt on the potty. And I crap you not, as soon as his butt touches that seat,
he just pees.
A little stream of pee right into the toilet.
Isn't it the cutest?
We have been talking about this like nonstop since like every text message.
Isn't it funny how things change when you have a kid? Now you're like, look, his little pee is so cute.
It's like every picture on my phone is him.
Right.
Every snap I get is him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's my whole life.
Yeah.
It's the absolute best.
I love it. It's almost like, could I ever do this again? Because what if it's not as cute the second time?
We said that
what
before.
What if he's not as good?
Here's my
what
thought.
What if he's not as cool?
And like, I hope like if I ever have another child that they're not listening to this, but we've said to each other.
I hope you are listening to this. You got some big shoes to fill, buddy.
I don't know how I could love anything more than I love Will.
And then everyone's like, well, just have another one and you'll understand. It's not in me. I'm just letting you know right now I'm maxed out. I don't even love Kent anymore. I had to give it all.
You're engaged to him.
I had to give it all. That's for money. I had to give it all to the baby.
So your wedding got the COVID.
My wedding did get COVID back in April, and we had to reschedule. And so now I'm getting married August the 8th. And I'm thinking divorce by 2025.
That's exciting.
Yes, thank you.
I'll be there for both.
We're very excited. I know my mom keeps talking about wanting to go to all these exotic places for the bachelorette party. And I'm like, we'll do that when I get divorced. So then I can hook up with some random foreign dude.
the post-wedding, the divorce party, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
awesome.
still be young and hot then.
So, all right, you want to wrap things up?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know how to start the show. I have no idea how to end a podcast.
There's so much that we still have to get to, and of course, if there's something that we didn't address or that you want clarification on, please drop us a comment on Facebook, hit us up on Instagram at The Rob's Podcast.
We're going to have more instructions as to how to download this show. There'll be links on Facebook and Instagram.
Keep an eye out.
Obviously, if you're watching this on Facebook, thank you. Please give us a share. Let people know that we're back.
And again, you can fire me, or you can follow me on Instagram at Maddie Got Fired.
You can be like everybody else and fire her too.
Yeah.
Instagram, what is it, at Maddie Got Fired?
Yeah.
And then what's the Rob's Podcast?
At The Rob's Podcast, yep.
Sweet. Maddie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, it's my
By
pleasure.
the way, my intention, at least at first, I'm thinking like weekly.
We're going to do this every week. We've got so much to get to.
I wonder if the video is still rolling.
Probably.
Do you think it's moving still? You freaked me out. Oh, is it still going?
I think so.
How come?
It's just my head's not really in
Did
it
the
ever.
camera move? Why aren't you in the shot?
I think it slouched a little bit.
By the way, if you're looking at it on Facebook, do you see our stripper pole?
Good things are going to happen there. I'm just letting you know. If there's any reason for you to tune back in, it's that stripper pole.
If there's any
there.
reason for you to follow and subscribe, we have a stripper pole in the studio.
And Maddie West.